Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Privileged Society. I hope you're all having a good day. So, today I wanted to talk about whenever you suddenly go from being ugly, quote unquote, or maybe not even ugly, just, pretty normal, to being beautiful. This happened to me. I'll tell a little bit of that story. I won't go on too long about it, but basically, when I was younger, I did not, in my opinion, I was beautiful, obviously. All children are beautiful. But I was not conventionally attractive, like in my teens, maybe. I was very much just a regular looking girl, nothing too special. And then I got my first job. And I started making money. And I started to, be able to afford things that could make me more beautiful. And I would say over the span of about 2 to 3 years, I went from being average, kind of invisible, to very beautiful and very hyper visible. And whenever I say that I'm like very beautiful, of course that's, subjective. But I would say I attained a conventional amount of beauty where most people would generally agree that I am attractive. Not all people, obviously, and I'm not saying that to I'm so beautiful, I'm so much better than you. But I do say that to say I think I have some authority on this topic. But yeah, so I went from being a very normal girl, not very stylish, didn't know a lot about makeup or hair, to becoming, I don't want to say famous, but going viral several times over, to the point that I started making money because I had attained conventional attractiveness. And it is such a jarring experience to go from being normal and people not really paying attention to you to people becoming almost obsessed with your beauty and the way that you look and your life, therefore, as a result. I was never really used to people keeping tabs on me because I didn't really see myself as a person that people would care to keep up with. But after I had attained that conventional attractiveness, people really started to become obsessed with me and my life. And that was a really uncomfortable adjustment period because no one warns you whenever you're on a glow-up journey that your life will dramatically change, and the way that people see you and interact with you will dramatically change as well. So I got some stalkers, I got some people that were kind of leeching off of me. And because I hadn't experienced that before, it was really just such a how do I even say it? It was just such an extreme change from how things were before I grew up. So yeah, I got my fair share of stalkers, both male and female. A man that I had dated, I broke up with him, and he told me that he would never allow me to be happy after I broke up with him. And, he's nowhere to be found now, obviously, and I'm very happy, but those kinds of things just did not happen to me before I became conventionally attractive. Another thing that I noticed, kind of piggybacking off of my last point, is that people started to treat me a lot differently. Whenever I would go out in public or I would go out with my friends before I had my glow up, I was like literally just normal, just the normal girl. Didn't really get any compliments, or I didn't really get any special attention. Boys weren't like hitting on me and asking me out on dates and stuff. So whenever I did become conventionally attractive, all of that changed. Today, now, I'm a pretty fashionable person, And whereas before I never really got compliments when I went out, now I can guarantee I get at least 2 or 3 compliments anytime I step out of the house. Whenever I go to the grocery store, someone says, "Oh, I really like your outfit. I really like your hair. You look really good." I had never experienced that before, so it was like, whoa, like, is this what the other side feels like? Attention from men, I don't really care about this one because, every beautiful girl has like a lot of men at their disposal, but a lot of men really started to pay attention to me. Their eyes would linger when I walked past, whereas before they would just kind of ignore me and pretend that I wasn't there. So yeah, that was a big change as well. And I didn't really know what to do with all of the extra attention that I started getting. And this is like positive attention. People asking me where my outfits are from, or what lip gloss I'm using, or where my bag is from, or just anything like that. Those were really new experiences for me. I mentioned it briefly before, but whenever I became conventionally attractive, I actually started making money off of that conventional attractiveness. And that was something that I never knew could happen to me. I never in a million years thought that I could make, 5 figures a month based off of my attractiveness. And that, I think, has been the biggest adjustment, or just my eyes have really been open to how beauty can catapult you to the top. And a lot of people, looks aren't the only things that matter, right? We all know that. But they do matter. And if your beauty surpasses, I feel like, a certain level, and we see this with, celebrities. Lori Harvey comes to mind. But whenever you start being that kind of attractive, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to bank on it in some way. I didn't really have to try very hard to make, 5 figures a month for the way that I looked. So yeah, I mean, we like to pretend that looks don't matter, and they aren't the only thing that matters, but if you have them, you know that if you suddenly went back to being average or normal, your life would dramatically change again. And that is something that really keeps me in line with my glow up process. I don't really stray too far whenever it comes to leveling myself up. Like, I feel like I'm always going up, and I never want to go down, because whenever the level of attractiveness goes down, so do the benefits that it brings. So that really helps me to stay motivated by remembering all of these things that beauty has given me. I see it as a gift, and I want to keep receiving that gift. So I want to, I want to stay as beautiful as possible. And yeah, overall, I feel like going from being normal or average to being conventionally attractive and up, I feel like it has honestly severely changed my life. And this is why I am so die-hard about the pretty privilege topic, because I am living proof. I am living proof that it exists. I don't really think it's a question of whether it exists, honestly. I think a lot of people kind of wonder if it's something that they should strive for, or should they listen to people on social media saying it doesn't matter. And, if you have other attributes, you're smart, you're funny, you're charming, those things can carry you very far. But whenever you're all of those things and you're pretty on top of it, the world literally becomes your oyster. There's nothing that you can't achieve with all of those different attributes, including your physical appearance, in the bank. Because we live in a society, we do, it's true. We live in a society that places extreme value on beauty. And I say all of this to say, you can continue to be average and normal, and you'll probably have a pretty good life. But whenever you attain this extra privilege of beauty, which is a privilege that can be attained. I think anyone can attain some form of pretty privilege, even if it's not, huge. There's a lot of different types of pretty privilege. But whenever you have this extra privilege, your other privileges, they come with it. Other privileges like wealth privilege and, dating privilege, body privilege, skinny privilege. Not saying you have to be skinny to be beautiful, but in my case, my skinny privilege adds to my pretty privilege. But whenever you have pretty privilege, things do start to come to you easier, and you don't have to work so hard because you have this extremely valuable privilege that other people really value and really want for themselves. So yeah, that is just my experience with going from normal and average to becoming conventionally attractive. I have to say, I wouldn't trade my pretty privilege for anything because it makes existing in the world just a lot easier. It does. I'm sorry. I know no one wants to hear that, but it's true. And you can ask any beautiful girl and they'll tell you the same. Yes, it has its cons, and I'm going to make a video about the cons of being beautiful and the cons of pretty privilege, but generally speaking, pretty privilege has 180 changed my life, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So if you have any commentary or want to leave a comment, please feel free to do so. I would love to have a discussion about this. I hope that you guys are having a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.